As we all prepare to spring forward into daylight savings time, the Denver Broncos are actually falling back and methodically erasing every single memory of the John Elway draft era from this current iteration of the Denver Broncos. We have moved on and have agreed to a trade for Jerry Jeudy to send him to the Cleveland Browns. As was predicted on this channel several weeks ago, the Cleveland Browns will be getting Jerry Jeudy, and in return, the Denver Broncos will be getting a 5th and a 6th round draft pick. We're going to break that all down. What could that mean for the future of this Broncos team? What is all this new cap space we're freeing up? What could it be for? That and so much more. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben. Break down all things Denver sports. It really helps me out if you would like and subscribe. So let's dive in. As mentioned, Jerry Jeudy, who we picked before CeeDee Lamb, we picked before Justin Jefferson. We had such high hopes for him coming out of Alabama. He was, ranked in all of the pre-draft stuff as the can't miss receiving candidate. I think he is the highest receiver we've ever drafted. We picked Demaryius Thomas in the first round, but he was later on in the first round. So we had very, very high hopes for Jerry Jeudy. I've luckily been able to watch him in person at a few games and sat on the hill at Broncos training camp and watched him run routes on air. I do not think you will find a better pure route runner, a better footwork guy than Jerry Jeudy, but that never actualized here in Denver. He never lived up to that first-round potential and that high first-round potential, picking him at 9. So I think we all had hoped that we would get way more than a 5th and a 6th round draft pick. There were rumors last year at the trade deadline that teams were willing to part with even a 2nd round draft pick. So when I predicted a Jerry Jeudy trade this offseason, I thought we would at least get a 2nd round draft pick. That still could happen with Courtland Sutton. We're going to break that down towards the end of this video. But just looking at exactly what happened, the Denver Broncos got a 5th and a 6th round draft pick. That 5th round draft pick is actually the first pick of that 5th round from Cleveland. And so when you do the Bill Parcells points thing, they add up, how much is this pick worth and how much is this pick worth. Both of those picks together is essentially a 4th round draft pick. So as we look at how it stands right now, we are going to have the 12th overall draft pick. Then we are going to pick middle to late 3rd round, 4th round. Then we have first, we got 3 picks there in the 5th round, and we've seen George Payton come out and just crush these mid rounds. And that is what we truly need if the Denver Broncos are going to make the step forward. We need George Payton to redeem all of the horrible deals that he got done when he was, making deals for Randy Gregory and for Russell Wilson. We need him to redeem that by having another draft like he had his first year here when he picked up Meinertz, when he picked up Cooper, when he picked up Baron Browning, all in middle tier. So that's kind of what we need. It's interesting to me that what we see is that there is a very, very good chance that with Jerry Jeudy leaving the Denver Broncos, that we will not have a single player left on this squad who was procured under the Elway era. We could still end up in free agency ending up with a deal for Lloyd Cushenberry, although when you look at the cap hit, I would not be surprised whatsoever if Lloyd Cushenberry doesn't come back, which means that if we do not get Stranad back here, there will not be a single player on this roster who is here because of John Elway, and that is just hard to fathom because Elway was here just not too long ago whatsoever, and that just shows you how quickly NFL rosters turn over. Also interesting to me that for all the hate that George Payton is getting for his free agency moves, it's John Elway gets equal amounts of hate because of how bad he was in the draft. So it's almost like if you want to find your perfect GM or president of football, it is John Elway when it comes to free agency. He brought in dudes like DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, TJ Ward, obviously Peyton Manning. So he crushed it when it came to free agency, but then he just flamed out drafting Paxton Lynch, drafting, I think Derek Wolfe was a good draft, but other than kind of lucking into Von Miller, John Elway was not good in the draft, was great in free agency. The opposite side of that coin is who we have in George Payton, who has just really, really pooped the bed when it comes to free agency, and that most of his free agent moves that he's brought have flamed out, yet he's crushed it in the draft. And so, man, if we could somehow combine both of those, and truly I think the hope is that Sean Payton is going to be the one who's kind of scheming up all those free agency deals, and we just have George Payton. Although he has that GM title, we know that all he is doing is scouting and leading the scouts, and he will give his opinion on the draft. So I think that's kind of the best of both worlds. This is his last chance to redeem himself, and now he's got all these quivers in, he talked about he wants a whole quiver full of arrows in the draft. Now he's got a lot more shots, a lot more darts to throw at that board, and we just hope that somehow we're going to be able to make it work with that. So not only do we pick up a lot more pieces, we know Jerry Jeudy just had 1 year left on his deal, and we are going to have some cap issues. We probably were not going to pay him again next year. So to get something for him, you got to be excited about. So it's not only these 2 draft picks that we pick up that are great, but the other big thing is that we now have $31 million in cap room, which is incredible. So that could be for 2 reasons. What are we doing with all this cap room? The first kind of big thought in the clubhouse is that are the Denver Broncos actually going to bite that entire $85 million dead cap hit in 1 year? We're really close to being able to do that. I think we'd need to clear another 18 million or so in order to totally be able to take all of that in 1 year, which means like, man, if we could just have 1 year bad, draft some players, be bad enough that we have another high draft pick, that could be a cool thing. But the other prevailing thought is that by doing this, we're actually going to be able to have some ammunition to go out, and we could get a high price free agent. We now, like, here's the actual over the cap number. We're at 30 million. You can go in and play and bring in. We could easily get a dude like Danielle Hunter. We could get Patrick Queen and Danielle Hunter and still be under the cap, depending on how we structure those deals. And so if you were to say like, hey, we have to move on from Justin Simmons, that's a huge bummer. But coming in, we're going to have an incredible edge rusher and an amazing linebacker, or are we able to bring Josie back? All of that is very, very interesting. Other thing that I thought was just a crazy little tidbit here is that we hear all of these things teased and leaked on Twitter, but now we know the asking price for Jerry Jeudy. So if there's another team, we talked about how all of these wide receivers that people wanted got franchise tagged, and teams who are desperate for wide receivers, there's not a lot of dudes left who you'd be really excited about. So now that this deal hasn't actually been signed off on and inked out there is a real possibility that another team's like, oh, they're giving you a 5 and a 6. We'll give you a 4 and a 5. So do not be surprised if that happens. I think that could be a really interesting thing here, that the trade processing does not happen until March 13th. So could the Jets come in and be like, hey, here's a 4 and a 5, or could this start a little bidding war? We see this happen at times, and certainly it's not a great look, and it makes your team kind of maybe not be trusted by other teams in the league. But I do not think that that's something that Sean Payton really values that much to be trusted, and I think he's a competitor. So I would love to see that. I think it's already a good move because all the cap it frees up, but I think it could even be a better move if we said that, so that one of these other teams that wants a receiver comes out and does this. Obviously, the big question now is what's going to happen over the next couple of days? What's going to happen that first week of free agency? Because that will really let us know what we're building for in the NFL draft. Are we going out and getting a Cousins, or are we going out and getting Gardner Minshew? Are we going to try to trade for Mac Jones? Any of those moves would let you know we're not going to draft a quarterback. But if you see all of a sudden we trade Cortland Sutton, trade Garrett Bowles, trade Zach Allen, then you know maybe we're taking all of Russ's cap hit and are going to try to tank and have a high draft pick next year, or bring in a rookie quarterback this year who we like and try to build with them for the future. So lots of crazy things that are going to be happening. Hope you stay subscribed to this channel, stay tuned in. Comment down in the comments here. What do you think about this Jerry Jeudy trade? How do you feel about getting the first pick in the 5th round and a 6th round draft pick for Jerry Jeudy? Would you have made that move if you were George Payton? As always, it is awesome to be rolling with all of y'all in Broncos country, and let's giddy up.